Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. He did this by just making one change. Chuck says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/inspired or by clicking on a link below this video. It'll change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/inspired or click on a link in the description below to watch the video now. If the legendary Chuck Norris can do this at 81 years old, so can you. Watch his method by clicking on the link in the description box below. chuckdefense.com/inspired. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Inspired live stream. It is Friday, February 8th, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. It's the morning, the day after one of the latest State of the Union speeches we've ever seen. Of course, the whole thing is completely bizarre, very much on all levels, and we can unpack this. But something very, very, very strange happened during Biden's State of the Union speech yesterday. Multiple government websites went down. Actually, let's go into this, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the speech, which I suffered through it. I watched portions of it last night. I watched portions of it this morning. There's nothing remarkable in a positive sense to say about this, of course not, other than it's a remarkable theatrical thing that happened there. But let's look at really the news that stood out to me. And then we're also going to go later on in the show today into, I have a reaction on a few comments of yours that you left on YouTube videos or live streams during this week. And I'm going to react to that. But let's look first at this here. I'm going to put my glasses on for this, my friends. Multiple government websites down, including DHS, ICE, FEMA, and Secret Service. It's interesting to note what kind of websites were down. So DHS, Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, ICE, USCIS, FEMA, Secret Service. So these are all, and Secret Service, I think to a certain extent as well, but the others are all very, very much involved in anything related to immigration, border emergencies, right? So it's very interesting that all of these websites were down during the speech. They were down during the speech, not for the whole speech, but during it. And I thought that was very, very remarkable. Now, there's very little that was said about it other than they came back up. People don't seem to really focus on this. But here's a few perspectives that immediately came to me. Number one, why the timing? If you let's say you bring these websites down because you want to change something, you want to alter something, you want to do something, whatever happens in the background, right? This just doesn't happen randomly. And they're also not randomly connected and don't have own securities in place. Each website, each domain, each IP address, everything. But okay, if you wanted to do that, what is the State of the Union and what is significant during the State of the Union? You have both chambers of Congress there. You have the Supreme Court there. You have the cabinet there of the president. You have the president, the vice president. You have the Speaker of the House. So basically, you have all major federal political figures in one room, pretty much locked away from being able to react to anything. Of course, there's other people taking care of things, and there's the agency, there's the bureaucratic state. But for that hour and a half, however long that thing takes, you don't have access to these major decision makers. So that would be a very, very good time to do things if you think you can get things done quickly and not get a reaction from them until it's too late. So that's the one thing that stood out to me. That's why for some reasons you might pick a time like this where everyone is in one room, and that doesn't happen. Happens when what? Inauguration, and it happens State of the Union. There's not many other things where that happens. So that's one opportunity. I think it's highly significant and should be looked into as far as that's even possible, right? So that's one thing. The second thing that came to mind, three things really came to mind. The second thing is that I was, for whatever reason, I was reminded of something that happened in the last minutes and seconds of the official first Trump term when it ended on the fake inauguration day. It's all so bizarre when I have to say these things because it's so bizarre. But here's what happened. During the last moments of Trump's first term, a slice of the Pentagon's internet space that was taken over by a Florida company minutes before Trump left office has been returned, but the mystery remains. This was a very, very strange thing. What's the thing? Where, I'm going to read this to you. Minutes before the official end of President Donald Trump's term, a young company based in Florida reportedly took control over a large chunk of internet space owned by the Pentagon. 8 months later, so this article is from 2021, it has been returned to the Department of Defense, the DoD. The Washington Post reported Friday, but questions remain about the program. The company at one point held 175 million IP addresses, controlling more of the internet than some of the world's largest internet companies, including Comcast and AT&T. The company was identified as Global Resource Systems, LLC, which you can find out about nothing. Headquartered in Plantation, Florida, the company appeared to have been founded in the fall of last year, so that would have been the fall of 2020, filing paperwork in Florida in October and was incorporated in Delaware. So the company was founded. I love this. The company was founded, Global Resource Systems, LLC, was founded in September of 2020, incorporated in Delaware, and they're headquartered in Florida. It was founded in September of 2020. And in January of 2021, only 4 months later, they received probably one of the most valuable, and in terms of security, absolutely most impactful chunks of internet space to manage and put under cybersecurity. And all this was done in the last minutes, of the Trump administration. This was a big deal for those who were watching, because nobody knew why, what really. But yesterday, just because I was looking at these websites outages, that's the first thing that came to mind, that these two things somehow must be connected. At any rate, these are multiple perspectives that we can have. I think that there are, the third perspective on this, which I wanted to share with you all, is that we have seen over the last months many strange outages. I think, was it last week during Super Tuesday, the biggest political day before the general presidential election in November, Super Tuesday. All meta sites went down. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, the Messenger, and whatnot. Then a little before that, AT&T went down in many places for a whole morning. You have consistent internet outages all over the United States that are overlapping in geography, which means they cannot be isolated to a singular tower or a singular network, but it's multiple whole counties that have problems. These are not accidents, and I also don't believe them to be simply all cyber attacks. What I do think is, and this is the third perspective on this, I do think that we are getting these, we can interpret them as such. We're getting these warning shots here. We're getting, and these are, I think, tests as to what the reactions are, what the fallout is, how they will handle it, and how they will handle internal problems that arise from this. Everything needs test runs. Everything needs exercise. Remember Event 201 in October of 2019. Event 201 held in New York City, if I remember correctly, hosted by the Gates Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in cooperation with the DHS, with the Chinese DHS, And with pretty much all the important agencies and organizations of the world, what did they practice? They practiced a new global pandemic, a coronavirus outbreak that was global and that pretty much mirrored perfectly what happened a few months later and then a few years later, of course. Exercises, trainings. So this is the most significant thing about the speech last night was this to me, the outages of these multiple websites that couldn't be reached. And I do connect it in some way, and I don't know why. And I'm putting this out there to other commentators who have a deep research into this particular subject here, other researchers and journalists. My intuition tells me it's connected to this IP address transfer that happened in the last moment of Trump's presidency. How? I don't know. It's just intuition. But the most important takeaway for anyone watching, and I want to say worldwide, especially in America, but worldwide, is please examine your everyday life. How dependent are you on cell phone service, on internet service? Does your family have a plan in place when the grid goes down? What I mean by that is when the power goes out, that usually also means pretty much that the internet will go out, and for home internet will go out, and it might cause other disruptions. But let's just talk about power and internet for just a day. Does your family have an action plan? Have you ever discussed where you will meet up? It's very simple. You sit down and you say, hey, when something out of the ordinary happens and we can't reach each other, here's the game plan. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to stick to this no matter what. These scenarios are not just likely. I think this is the strangest year that we've been in since in my lifetime. Nothing's ever been stranger than this, and boy, that we have some strange years. And I think it's very likely that we're going to have some systemic outages connected to especially information communication, so internet related. I think that's very, very likely. So please take these constant test runs that are now worldwide happening all the time as a warning sign to prepare and ask yourself, how big is the fallout for you if this happens? What questions do you need to ask yourself? How can I still do my basics? Do you do all of your shopping digitally? Are you holding any cash? Any cash or precious metals? Do you have anything that you could use when digital isn't available? Think about these things as they're very, very important, okay? So this is sort of the most important thing, but there were other important things that happened in the State of the Union speech. By, it's hard to say by, I would say by President Biden, and we never know whom we're going to get. Is it the guy with the earlobes or attached earlobes? Is it the guy that has a huge neck where the mask shows? Obviously, to me, it seems like whoever the guy playing Biden right now is, he was drugged up pretty well, because he did fairly well. I mean, he doesn't, when it gets a word that's over 2 syllables, turns into syllables. Manufacturing turns into manufacturing. The guy can't pronounce words anymore, and it's actually painful to watch. It's literally like going to a senior center and watching someone with dementia trying to speak. And yes, sure, you can kind of get what they're trying to say, but it isn't really English. It isn't really speech. It's horrific to watch. I mean, from whichever angle you want to look at it. The act from an informational standpoint, I don't even know what to say. I mean, obviously it was filled with lies and inaccuracies. I mean, but unfortunately that's to be expected. Now, it kind of used to be, sure, you would spin things. State of the Union, president goes, victory lap, here's the good things we do. But what if you just invent stuff? Like you just stand there for an hour and it's all just manufactured, invented stuff that doesn't reflect reality. Then you go, this is not spinning. This is not politics. It's just Hollywood. This is just a made up story. And that's what it is. It's a made up story. It's the circus on display. He walked in there and everybody was cheering. It was pompous. It's like, you would think that the commander in chief had just returned from battle and just brought home victory against a tyrannical force. The way that happened, and they were cheering and they were clapping and they were getting up, and it was like, oh my God, Hollywood at its best. And I just wonder who the director was. It was done pretty well. It was classic American politics theater. And to those who know what they're observing, it's actually pretty entertaining to watch that part. But from an informational standpoint, there's nothing for you to watch. However, some people have said something very interesting. Big commentators, whether I agree with them or not doesn't really matter at all, but they said, this is the kind of speech you give before the empire falls. And I kind of tend to agree. It's like this completely detached, disconnected speech that doesn't really address anything that the average American has to think about, worry about, deal with on a daily basis. And so when you have that, such a disconnect, the nation in many ways is in a state it's never been in. The state of mind that a lot of people are in is a state they've never been in. It's so extraordinary in so many ways. And then you kind of pull off this classic ranting political speech that is disconnected from what the people really are facing every day. I just don't get it. I don't know who after this would go and say, this is my guy. I'm gonna buy a t-shirt. I'm gonna buy a Biden t-shirt. No, if you're really gonna get one, get an Inspire t-shirt. At least that says something, right? But anyway, but I'll show you something interesting. The only interesting Biden clip I want to share with you. Listen very closely, because he said this before, and I don't know the context of this particular conversation, but he says something after the State of the Union. Listen.
And by the way, if you notice you fly over in a helicopter, those places with good roofs, they didn't burn.
It's the right material.
Let's see it again.
Those places with good roofs, they didn't burn.
It's the right material.
Yeah.
So the guy says, oh, it's the right materials. Those places with good roofs didn't burn. Now, we all know, we've heard it before. This is connected to the direct energy weapons, which really became kind of a household knowledge thing after Lahaina. That's when this big thing exploded. We've heard about them many, many times before. And those who studied into secret weapons programs or have some connection to the military, this is not very strange, a direct energy weapon, actually. It's been around for much longer than most people think. But with Lahaina, it was that the way these fires erupted was very, very strange. The way they moved was very, very strange. And where they stopped and didn't go forward. And we reported on this. We had interviews about this. But basically, there was one common theme, is that it appears that the color blue, and even I think a specific shade of blue, seems to be almost a repellent to these direct energy weapons and to the lasers. Why that is and how that is, we could talk about the electromagnetic spectrum of blue and the frequency and all of that. I'm not an expert on it. I'm just saying this was the observation. It was interesting that a lot of the celebrities had blue roofs, and then you saw the thing in Chile a couple weeks ago, huge fires, and people are starting to paint their roofs blue. But the statement that Biden made here, it's interesting to me, because only when the great danger comes from above would that make sense. Because if a fire simply moves in on your house, the color of the roof shouldn't have any impact on whether your house burns or not, right? If a fire moves towards it. So he has said this before in a speech when he was down in Texas, and we shared this, and he said it again. And I think this is all pointing upward and saying, okay, we got to look upward. This is coming from above. To me, this is almost like, the signaling that's coming out. Who's talking in his ear? Why is he sharing it? Also, just could be a very a signal to those who are in their circle. Hey, get your roofs painted blue, or look into this. There's no way of telling why this was said, right? Obviously, it was planted there. Obviously, it was done close to a mic and a camera. None of this is accidental. When you are in Congress during State of the Union, you have to assume that every word's going to get picked up. Somebody's reading your lips. Somebody has a mic. Somebody has a hot mic. Cameras are on you. So if you don't want something to be heard or said, you don't say it during that time. If you do say it, you want it to be heard. It's as simple as that. This is not rocket science. So the fact that we're hearing certain things and hot mic moments are coming out is wanted. It must be wanted, okay? So those are the two most interesting really things of the State of the Union speech. I will say this. It wouldn't surprise me if we're going to see some bigger collapse moments in the next days based on this speech. You know, it's so disconnected from anything. It was such a Hollywood approach, and from a substance standpoint, I have nothing to take away from it. People said this was the kickoff for the Biden campaign, if there is such a thing, if such a thing even exists. I think we're going to see a bunch of woke, very strange-looking people jumping around on social media and pretending he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But that's about all there is really to say to this State of the Union speech. I mean, probably we're going to find some little more nuggets here and there, but really, don't go and watch it if there's nothing there to really see. I mean, go if you want to, but I suffered through it. So I promise you I'm going to react to some of the comments that were posted this week. And, there's a good comment monitoring system in place here. 50% of them are bots, right? So we try to filter out the real people comments if we're going to react to anything. And these, I think, are definitely no bots. So let's look at this a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna put, I think this was in response to yesterday's, by Mark, in response to yesterday's live stream where I talked about libertarianism. And Mark said it very friendly. He said, liberty is not freedom. Fucking snap out of it. Thank you, Mark. Liberty is what a sailor gets when their ship pulls into port and docks. They're not free. They must return to that ship before it leaves port. That is controlled absence, not freedom. Rise the hell up peacefully and say no more. I think, very clearly stated in the live stream yesterday that I differentiate very clearly. There's absolute freedom that everybody has that is born, and I've said this a million times. We're born with it. You can do and say and act and whatever. I mean, as long as you don't harm anybody, then they have the right to protect themselves. But as long as you don't harm anybody or their property, that's what you do. You do what you want to do. But no clan, no tribe, no family, no community, and especially not when it gets larger, can continue to exist peacefully and harmoniously without a set of values and principles, and yes, even certain rules that they agree on. It just does not work. It simply does not work. And for that, we have to create wonderful systems that serve us rather than we serve the systems. This is pertaining to the differentiation between natural law, common law, and statutory law. And I don't mean to brag, but I have forgotten more about those issues than most people will ever know. I spent decades studying this in depth, so I know exactly what liberty means and I know exactly what freedom means. But you can decide to share a space with other people and agree on certain things, which means you have liberty in that and you have responsibilities in that. That's always how it goes, and there's no way around it. Just because we have a bad system doesn't mean systems in and of themselves are bad. We have a bad system. We can have a better one. But if you want to live in absolute freedom, which means, you don't drive on the right side of the road if that where everybody else drives. You just drive wherever you want on the sidewalk and whatever. You're going to suffer those consequences, what that means, right? But if you really want, you do have to step away from society. Within a society, any kind of society, small or large, there will always be structures. There will always be some sort of agreement. But right now, we don't have agreements anymore. We have the thumb that's pushing down on us. And that's the problem, really. We need to get into agreement mode again. Okay, so next comment here. Let me blow this up a little bit. From my understanding, this is Tracy says, from my understanding, anything registered, regis, belongs to the crown, therefore they claim taxes on it. Bizarre reality. Who would have thought that? And it's very accurate. Thank you for that comment, by the way. This is very, very accurate. If you study how the system works, and here I'm going to give you the basics. You are a natural born being, like a bird, a squirrel, a worm, a fish, whatever. You're a natural born being. Simply said, you're absolutely free when you're born, like I said before, absolutely. There is a moment and a mechanism that plugs you into the system, into the legal system, into the statutory system, into the commercial system. You, in and of yourself, cannot enter that system. You are a living being, and this is an artificial commercial system. And those two are not compatible unless there is an adapter that identifies you. It's a second identity, actually. It's a second version of you that is paper. And it's fake. It's ultimately dead. And it's an adapter, a legal entity. When you embody that legal entity, you enter the system and you can do commerce in it. You can do contract. You can do all kinds of things in it. But you as a natural being are not of the same isness. You're not of the same isness as the system, if you will. Those are two separate entities. You are the natural thing. Everything that happens in that realm is absolute. If you want to enter a relative realm, there's the only way is through an adapter, or you will not be seen in that system or heard in that system, right? And you enter that relative realm, and you're part of the corporate system. So, and if something is registered, like a car is registered, it literally, you are saying, here, I give this to you, and you regulate and create rules around it and tell me how I can now operate within this system. Yes, it's absolutely correct. As a matter of fact, within this system, everything is prohibited unless it is allowed. What do I mean by that? Well, fishing's prohibited, and hunting's prohibited, and driving's prohibited. And all of these things are against the law unless you do what? Unless you have a license or a registration. And unless you pay for it, everything is money in this system. So everything is outlawed unless it is specifically allowed under certain circumstances. So this observation and this understanding is absolutely correct, Tracy. When it's registered, it goes into the system. Okay. Next comment here. Let me see what we got. John says, you may want to check out the American States Assembly with Anna von Reitz, as assemblies have been formed in 50 states. This movement is in the process of rebuilding our republic. And yes, I absolutely know Anna. I've known Anna for many years. Like I said, again, I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying I've forgotten more about these things than most people will ever know, because I spent so much time and we lived completely outside of everything. So we understand how it works, how to enter. I've talked to God knows how many judges and clerks and policemen and from other agencies. We've had a plethora of experience in this. And Anna is doing very, very wonderful educational work. She really goes deep into who you are as a being, who you were created by, and how the corporate legal system, the statutory system works, and the relationships, right? Now, and I will say the same thing as I've said, just a little different. Here's the thing. Here's who you are. Here's the creator up here. Creator created mankind. Mankind created a system. Okay, this is the hierarchy. This is the absolute hierarchy. It's just how it is. So from that, you can make a decision to go into any kind of relativity that you want. The state assembly, you become a state national. It is another system that you agree to be a part of, and the relativity that it represents. It might be very good and it might be very beneficial. I've looked into it, actually. There's many good things there. I am just saying, please know, this is not, you cannot register your freedom. You cannot send a document or sign anything, because the very act of a signature is an acknowledgement of authority by something else over you. Real men and women don't sign things. The very act of writing The very act of writing is an invention of the system. The indigenous real cultures communicate orally and non-verbally. All of this is part of the legislature, right? It's part of the writing, the reading, black on white. So I would encourage anyone to just study this deeply and find your heart in it. This is a spiritual realization. The fact that so many people want to be sovereign and they ask where do they send that declaration to, and I sent this to the government, and I claimed my sovereignty status. Listen to the words. You claim something from whom? Who has the authority to grant you sovereignty? There's only one authority. It's the Creator. Already gave it to you or you wouldn't be here. That's it. That's sovereignty. Everything beyond that isn't pure sovereignty. And then, like I said before, this is sort of an acceptance that we have. We can use our sovereignty to decide to live together, have agreements together, but we need to restructure that from the ground up. And this system is dead. The system that was represented by the person last night at the State of the Union, that's a dead system. It is dead in and of itself, but it is dead now in its functionality. And we're seeing the downfall of it. There is no doubt about it. Do we have a comment left here? I think so. Let's see what we got here. Oh, this is by Jamie Robbins. Jamie's been with us for a long time. And Jamie says, come on, John. Damn, bro, it's a grift. And you damn well know it too. You've got a good heart, but this is baloney. And I think Jamie's talking about FLFE here. So I want to say something off the bat. This is really a horrible comment. It's a horrible comment. I'll tell you what. Thousands, tens of thousands of absolutely happy, satisfied customers.
Over 10 years.
10 plus years of scientific studies, serious people, and they are the most serious ones themselves. They themselves are the most serious ones, by the way, but other serious people that are studying the effects of a high consciousness field created by FLFE, Focused Life Force Energy. So many personal stories that we have been a part of that you would call miraculous, but I don't want to go there. I just want to stick to the facts that are measurable. So many measurable well-being stories. I have to be very careful what I say here. We can't give any medical advice or make medical claims. So many businesses that have reported huge improvements since being on the FLFE service. So many relationships, partnerships that have seen wonderful support from depressed teenagers that had sunshine again in their life, joy again in their life, from scenarios multiple times where strong storms moved through and left one home unharmed. We have never claimed that FLFE is some kind of miracle service, but this is the most integrous company we've ever seen, and it means something when we say we give it our 100% stamp of approval and support. It's a wonderful service. Yes, I understand that it's hard for people to understand, but most people don't know how this works. Don't pretend that you know how it is possible that you click a few buttons here, push a few buttons, and then you see your spouse, your grandma, your child on the other side of the world in real time moving around. Don't tell me that you know how this works. Don't tell me that you've studied and gone to Apple and gone to the internet providers and actually looked at all their technology. FLFE and their founders, Clayton and Jeffrey, have come out very openly and said there's a reason why we're not taking pictures and videos of the technology, of the quantum technology that's doing this. And they've said it openly why. They said there are similar, although less impactful technologies out there that are being used in bad ways. Like anything, you can use it in a good or in a bad way. And so they're simply protecting that and protecting as much as they can from more people using such a technology in bad ways, right? 90% of their work is in service. Only 10% of their work is in a business as a spiritual practice. But this service doesn't only support tens of thousands of customers that are extremely satisfied, including us. We're paying customers too. We put everything, the whole family, the businesses, everything on the service, and it's wonderful. We never said this is the solution. This is going to fix the world. This is going to raise your vibration. No, it maintains and creates a high consciousness field around your home or your business. And it's basically as if you were meditating all day long at that level on the Hawkins map of consciousness of 550 or 560. We could do this all day long. And I actually think ultimately we will. This is a support system that helps us to get there. And one of the most beautiful things that this does is the EMF, the scientifically proven EMF mitigating factor, okay? Because you know what Clayton and Jeffrey are saying, the founders of FLE are saying, we will not eliminate the EMFs anytime soon. So right now, we have to support our bodies in learning how to adjust to them. Because there's no way currently. How many satellites in the sky beaming down 5G? How many towers? You can't get rid of that right now. Over time, we might be able to. But right now, we have to also learn how to assimilate to that, how to live with that, and help our bodies get used to it. So rather than having the full-blown EMF every day, with the FLFE service, you have very much mitigation. So you can really calm down. You can really sleep better. Listen, think about it this way. Speaking about this so strongly and feeling about this as strongly as Christine and I do, we would be really, if we weren't 100% convinced, and if we didn't know this on all levels, do you think we would recommend this to you? Let's just say we're grifters from a grifter standpoint. We would be risking our reputation. But we're not. We're neither grifters nor are we risking our reputation. We actually would just love for everyone to experience this and make up their own mind. That's all. And they're making it easy. You don't need to have a credit card. You can just sign up for a free trial, no strings attached. You can't be accidentally charged or accidentally subscribed. You do the free trial. You experience a high consciousness field in your home or around your business, around your phone for 2 weeks. And you can even go longer if you ask them. And then you see what it does for you. It is different for everybody. But somewhere between 60 and 75 to 80% of the people have feelable and visible results and effects. And in some instances, 90 and up that will tell you, I sleep much better well-being, much easier conflict resolution. My mood is better. That's all I'm going to say to it. So don't come out and point fingers at me. If I knew, if we had 1% of doubt, 1%, we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be saying this. We wouldn't be recommending this. It's as simple as that. So with that said,
well, some vets talk about the vets that are using it for their practice and how the dogs and cats and animals react.
Thank you. Christine chimes in. I love that when she does that. Yeah. We have firsthand accounts from veterinarians, vets that are using the FLFE service on their clinics. And if you've ever been to a vet's clinic, you know that it can get very, very, hectic there. And animals are in an extraordinary state of anxiety. And so much of that is going around. The vets are predominantly reporting that animals are much calmer. Everything is much easier. And that's not a placebo effect when you look at the animals. We've seen this in our own animals, by the way, how they have positively reacted to the high consciousness field, that it's now not just there when we meditate. It's not just there when we do our energetic work and spiritual work. No, it's there overnight. It's there when we're gone. It's there when we return. And that's what we love about it. It's a supportive thing. And maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line, we won't need it anymore. And guess what? Jeff and Clayton, the founders, will be the happiest people when we get to a stage where we don't even need that anymore. Okay? So, description, check it out. Give yourself the chance of trying it, right? Just give it a try. As I said, no strings attached. And last,
But don't comment if you did not try it. That's something.
yeah, and please don't comment if you didn't try, didn't do due diligence, didn't do research. We're adults here. Let's just act like adults. And if we're doing the research and we find out something that is contradicting what we believed before, sure, we'll share it. That's what this is all about.
Oh, plus they have this Saturday, everyone can chime in. They have a Q&A on their website, and everybody can ask all the questions they have.
Thank you very much. This Saturday, there's an open Q&A with the founders. We'll actually we'll try to find, but on the FLFE website, you'll find that too. If you click the link down here, that's the easiest thing to do. You click the link and you get there, and then you can do the free trial and sign up for the webinar and ask your questions. It's all there. And speaking of free trials, we're giving away all kinds of good stuff this week, aren't we? We're actually, let me give you this here. We're actually inviting people over to the locals community. This is where we do uncensored, unfiltered, very intimate, private, behind the scenes kind of things in our Coffee and Truth live streams. If you want to join us there, inspired.locals.com. And the promo code is TRY4 free. That's my favorite thing. Inspired community is our favorite thing. No censorship. We don't have YouTube guidelines there. We don't have free speech zones there. It's one big free speech zone. So inspired.locals.com, use the promo code TRY4 free. Join us for a month. And if after that month you want to continue going, it's $7 a month or $70 a year. You get to post, comment, share, connect, watch. It's really cool. And a lot of other creators are on locals because of that. And everybody says, my goodness, this is such a relief. Having a community, having my audience, my friends, my extended family there. We can chat, we can comment. It's such a deeper connection. So we'd love to have you over there and just give it a free trial. All right, my friends, this was it from us for today. It's definitely not going to get boring. Here's the thing. For as long as we have internet access, for as long as we can somehow manage the technical connection, we'll be here. But if one morning the whole thing's down, trust that in your spirit you'll know what to do. You will trust even easier when you start preparing for that now, because it is a very, very likely scenario. That's just how it is. And then trust in your spirit, trust in your knowledge, trust in your creativity, trust in your creator. Practice that now through daily meditation, prayer. It's very important, because when the time comes and everybody else panics, you will be calm, you'll be creative, you'll be able to support your family, to support others. And you'll say, well, we saw this coming. It's okay. It's going to be good. Don't worry about it. We're going to get through this. It's very likely that this will happen sometime this year. Sooner rather than later, I think. All righty, my friends. Thank you for tuning in. And to all the new Inspired Tribe members, welcome to the Inspired Tribe. Everybody's welcome here. As long as you don't harm anybody else and accept that people have different views, you're very, very welcome here. This is not a political channel. This is actually all spiritually grounded. The only difference is that we don't talk all day, every day about spirituality, because talk is cheap. We believe in applying the spiritual principles into and including that in all areas of our lives. That's what we call practical spirituality. And to me, this is what we all need to do together now. Really understand that everything's spiritual. Politics is deeply spiritual. It's only currently ruled. It's only currently ruled by the dark spiritual forces. That's all. It's a deeply spiritual field. Of course it is, because everything is spiritual. But right now, the darkness has a grip on politics and the system. So we need to step into it and bring the positive spiritual side, bring the positive creator side, the real creator side of things, and bring that light into the darkness. It's as simple as that. So yeah, this channel is not a political channel. It just happens that in the last years, politics has affected everybody more than ever before. So where do we apply ourselves? Where we will be most effective. Simple as that. All right, my friends. Much love. Now for real. Many blessings. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.